desire was for the agency that she had led for so many years. And she really was interested in knowing our interest in growth, not for the sake of growth, but for an opportunity to understand the elements that were there at Cogswell Hall that could make us better. YWCA Greater Cleveland was founded 150 years ago, and Cogswell Hall was founded nearly 150 years ago. And at that point, in 1868, 1878, we shared so many of the same founders and women in common that it was just fascinating to see all the similarities, all the tracks that really brought us together. And so as we continue to talk, not only did we have this long history of being engaged around our women founders, but as we came into present day, we recognized that together we had the potential to be a stronger organization. So the YWCA had 23 apartments, permanent supportive apartments, that we were housing individuals, many of whom had experienced homelessness, several or many also who had aged out of foster care. And we were always outsourcing everything that we needed. And Cogswell had 43 apartments that they provided housing for individuals who were low income and individuals who had experienced homelessness. And many of their staff were working not quite a full-time schedule. And so together, we were able to be at scale. We were able to take the staff that at one time really worked part-time hours for the most part and move them and right-size them and move them into full-time. We're able to identify that our cultures were so similar. The things that we valued at the YWCA were things that Cogswell Hall valued. Putting people first, putting people over process. And that was just really at the heart of, why we came together. And one of the last pieces that I will mention around why we merged was this amazing kitchen at Cogswell Hall. There is this beautiful commercial kitchen. And after Diana had called me on the phone, one of the first things I did with my chief program officer, Teresa Sanders, was to drive over to Cogswell, see the beautiful property, and walk into the building and see this amazing commercial kitchen. And at the time, that commercial kitchen was doing tens of meals a day. And now that commercial kitchen is doing hundreds of meals a day. YWCA runs Norma Her, which is the largest women's shelter in Cleveland. And at the women's shelter in Cleveland, there's really no kitchen. There's a warming kitchen, which means you can do exactly what it sounds like. You can warm something up, but you can't cook a meal. One of the most important things that we can do, one thing that's so vital, one thing that we've all learned during this pandemic, where every single person on this call has been under an enormous amount of stress, is to understand and value the importance of meals, the importance of high quality food, the importance of feeding the body and feeding the soul. And that is also so much of the work that we do together. Everything we do at Cogswell is individualized to feed the heart and soul of the individual. And that kitchen, it's just doing amazing, amazing work. But now I'd like to introduce you to the co-leadership team that we have at Cogswell Hall. And I'm going to let them share a little bit about what's happening there. Our merger became official on March 1st of 2020. And we all had the incredible experience of not 15 days later, our world changing. And so, but we had spent significant time together, because when Diana retired in June, we really stepped in right after her retirement in July with a management agreement. And so even though we hadn't merged, we began to cohabitate together, if you will. And so we did know each other quite well as the merger happened. And so I'm going to hand it over to Paula and Nicole. They will introduce themselves. And then after they have shared a bit, I will be open, we'll all be open to take questions that you might have. But I can't thank the Cogswell board enough. And also, before we get to question and answers, we will hear from Candice, who was on the board at Cogswell and is now one of those who transitioned to the YWCA board, and is going to share with us a little bit. I do need to look at my agenda that Taylor put together for me. But we're just so delighted to have you, and so excited to be able to provide this, this update for you on the important jewel of Cogswell Hall.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Evans, and I serve as one of the co-directors at Cogswell Hall. I serve as the Director of Food Services for the YWCA of Greater Cleveland. I wanted to talk to you about some of what Ms. Margaret mentioned about food service and how food service has impacted our lives. And the food we provide, the body, the soul, and a lot of times people don't understand how nutrition impacts the mental health. So when we looked at our challenges in 2020, our biggest challenges was the effects that COVID-19 had in regards to our staffing model, our operations, service delivery, and how we're able to care for the residents that we're entrusted to provide care to. I really don't see those challenges as challenges. I'm looking at them as learning opportunities, because what COVID did is it provided us opportunities to grow. So as Ms. Margaret said, that the merger took place on the 1st, the 16th, boom. We have no staff in food service and very limited staff within the entire building of Cogswell for operations. So what we were able to do to grow is we, at that time, identified that there are 7 residents that do not have the ability to prepare a meal on their own. And that also includes microwaving food. And so from identifying that and seeing that early on, we were able to then say, how many residents do we have that are food insecure, do not have the financial means to be able to go out and obtain fresh nutritional foods to meet their dietary needs. So we were able to then work with a team of staff, such as our data and reporting department, to identify that there are 18 residents, that's 44% of those that we house there, that are having food insecurities. And so that was one of the things that became beneficial to our merger, to the residents at Cogswell Hall. Having no staff report, we then were able to capitalize on the hearts of others that are part of our organization that said, I will step in and ensure that food service operations continue at Cogswell Hall, and that the residents do not go without a meal, as well as those that live at the shelter. So that's one way of how we have been able to integrate our staffing in a way that is productive. Other learning opportunities that we had to grow, we were able to then link our residents to virtual support groups and other community resources such as Instacart and Uber for medical appointments, because we needed to come up with strategies that would allow everyone to be safe. And what we found is that it contributed to the residents feeling a sense of independency. And so that was something that we learned that allowed us to be able to grow. And then the relationship building. While being at Cogswell, I realized that it is a community, that the residents are truly a community and they look out for each other, they support each other. If someone is ill or sick, they will pick up meals or even go to the store for one another. So those were some of the highlights that I see as opportunities to grow. And then how did we adapt through COVID? Several aspects of operation needed to be adjusted. And we needed to adjust hours and our distribution our distribution process to ensure that we are adhering to the social distancing guidelines, as well as the newly instituted guidelines from the City of Cleveland Department of Public Health. We also had to adapt some things with support services. And so these were some of the things that we learned. And then now I'm going to turn it over to Paula to talk a little bit, and we wait for questions.
Thanks, Nicole. So I did say, I said hi to Hans in a private message. I'm like seeing faces I missed. Bill and Rob, I haven't seen you guys. Hello, hello. And Bill, I swear it looks like you've lost weight and you're on camera, and I'm just a little bit upset with you for that, like just a little bit. But it's really great to see you guys. Anyways, but yeah, as Nicole said, through the merger, we've been chugging along in partnership and learning new things. COVID brought about challenges, but again, opportunities. In a way, with going through a merger and having it coincide with COVID, we sort of ripped the Band-Aid, and any little crack that there was like, oh, we got, okay, now this is right here and we're going to deal with it. And I have been amazed every day, the resiliency and the way we've shifted plans, the way folks that we wouldn't have expected have stepped in to support the residents. That's always shined through, is how much, as you all know that have had relation with us for all these years, that's always been the main theme, is how much and how far people are willing to go for the residents that live there. I've had the honor of joining the YWCA team and adding to capacity. So we're, what Margaret was talking about with our other supportive housing community, I've gotten to know some of the folks there too. That's been an incredible experience. Different, going from a younger population, and we're used to Cogswell, which is sort of an older population. So I get this flip-flopping world, which is really, really interesting. But it's been amazing to see support services adjust sometimes 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times a day to meet the ever-changing needs with different organizations that we used to partner with and rely on with a community relation to support the residents. Now it was kind of on us to get a little creative. So for me, it's the challenge has been there, and some days have been this, I just spent today there and had a really great day with one resident that makes me laugh incredibly hard. And that made my day, whereas yesterday was a bit of a struggle. So I think everyone here can share that sort of energy, that some days are great and some days are more of a challenge. So we're certainly happy to be part of the Y. And if it didn't get driven home before, how great of a partnership it was once we had the support of folks that have nothing to do with housing, just simply cared for the work from other centers and things of that nature. It was really beautiful to see that nobody, like Nicole said, nobody went without food, nobody went without having their meds, nobody went without the basic functions they needed to continue to be whole. And it was been amazing to see. So we're certainly looking forward to the next year. Maybe we'll get a little more a little more normal, hopefully.
Well, you have supported Cogswell Hall for many years, so it is obvious that the organization is near and dear to your hearts. We talked a lot about the organizational integration, but we didn't mention how we've been able to integrate the residents as part of this merger. And so some of the things that we put in place is we established a resident advisory committee. And the purpose was to ensure that residents have a voice in relation to programs and activities that are offered. It is important to us that the residents continue to feel that Cogswell Hall is a place to call home, that their voice is heard. And so this committee consists of 7 resident selected members. And so the residents selected them, and we meet monthly. In addition to that, there is a monthly resident circle meeting. That's when all of the residents come together, and the advisory committee kind of takes lead in being on the agenda and discussing topics. So then they understand that these are not changes that are coming about because the Y stepped in. These are changes coming about because we've done some observation and said that as a group of residents, this is what we might want to focus on. Monthly, we try to do this to keep the residents informed of what's going on and to hear any concerns that they may have, so then we can begin to look at how we can adjust services to either better fit their needs or incorporate any suggestions that they may have. And I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Margaret.
Thank you, Nicole. You know, before we hear from Candice, yeah, I want to say, Bill, you look great. Fantastic. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's great to see all of you. Thank you. You're making my day here.
Candice, any thoughts that you have?
Sure, I'd love to. Hi, everyone. I know some of you, and I don't know all of you, but as Margaret mentioned, I was a Cogswell board member for a brief time before the merger. And before that, I was on the resident programs committee, coming up on 3 years now. And that's how I was introduced to Cogswell through Diana, and got to really develop a love for the organization. And it's been wonderful to watch this transition as a board member. It's been an interesting time as well. So first I want to talk about how I think Cogswell has benefited from becoming part of the YWCA family. I think as we heard from Margaret and Nicole, from a management perspective, it's allowed us to streamline and create those economies of scale, as she mentioned, and work smarter and use some more best practices because they can dedicate full-time staff and what they've learned through managing YWCA and Norma Her and their other initiatives. I also think that it's created linkages to really strong programs in the community because of all the organizations that they work with. And so there's a lot of great ideas that are brought forward and that they're aware of through all of that work. And then I also think I love hearing Margaret talk about the kitchen. And the Cogswell home is such a beautiful space, and it's so meaningful to us, and to breathe new life in that and new meaning into that space. I think that that's really lovely, and a good chance to take opportunity of a great space. So I want to also express my gratitude to the YWCA and to the staff at Cogswell for their response to COVID. I've just been in awe. I wish I could have been closer. There has been a distance because of the pandemic, and so it's been hard to feel as in touch as I would like to, but that's just the way things are, but the updates that we get, the pivoting, the agility, the scrappiness that they've exhibited is, it's really profound, and I appreciate that very much. And then to talk about some of the enhancements of the resources that they've been able to do in this time of the pandemic. We had some great calls with Nicole. In the summer, we were hoping to do a carnival kind of fair event for the residents. It was, Nicole had so many great creative ideas around that. It was going to be outside, and we were going to have some fun games and different food stations. Unfortunately, we had to sort of scale that back a little bit for safety. But I'm so excited for, the resident advisory committee, and also just being really creative around resident programs, and to see those support services continue to expand as COVID resides eventually, and what we can do. And then finally, I think I love the resident advisory committee concept. That might have been the last time we met in person when we talked about that. At Cogswell. It was a long time ago now, but I thought that was such a brilliant idea. Resident Circle has been around, and we've had the Resident Programs Committee, which just had, 2 of the residents, but this advisory committee I thought was such a great idea to empower them, to give them that independence, but also to know that decisions are being guided from within. So I look forward to what is to come. Please reach out to me anytime if you have thoughts or want to connect. I know I'm sort of new relatively to the Cogswell community because we had so many longtime board members, but I carry it forward, and don't hesitate to reach out, and know that I think the organization is in really good hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Candice. And I can't tell you, we have received as much as we have given. We're so proud that the staff members at Cogswell Hall now have health benefits. That was something that was not in place prior to the merger, and we are thrilled with that. There were several staff members who made minimum wage. The state of Ohio minimum wage and the YWCA minimum wage is $15 an hour. And there's just so many benefits that have come through. And Paula and Nicole are a co-director team at Cogswell, and with Paula, we were able to have her be the property manager, not just for Cogswell, but for Independence Place at the YWCA. And her knowledge around property management is encyclopedic. Her ability, the relationships she has with Ohio Capital and Ywca is just absolutely amazing. She is a powerful go-to resource in terms of our property management. I can tell you our facilities are looking good. You know how good those facilities looked at Cogswell. And I mean, it is so amazing to see how the team has whipped the YWCA in shape. And of course, Nicole came with all this kitchen and food service and all that knowledge. And we actually deployed her from another position in the YWCA. We just invited her over to see the kitchen. She was like, wow, you got something here. So this is the co-team, and it's really exciting. But I want to be able to just open up and answer any questions that you might have. And thank you all for being here.
Well, I'm happy to start. I don't have a question other than to say thank you. This is exactly what I think the Cogswell board, I'm the former president of Cogswell, I think all or most of you know that. And this was exactly what we had hoped for, we're anticipating. So Margaret, thank you to you and your team. It was such a pleasure to merge. It was the easiest merger, I think, almost the easiest. Nothing goes exactly as planned, but it was as seamless as could be. And I'm so delighted. First, thank you for doing this. And I'm so delighted that things are going well. I have no questions other than my heartfelt thanks, and it's so great to see everyone today.
I have a couple of questions. I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't hear what position you hold at Cogswell, is it?
Well, I don't work there. I was the president pre-merger of Cogswell Hall.
Oh, okay.
I'm the board president. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Paula, I heard Margaret mention that you were the property manager at Cogswell and Independence Place.
That's correct.
Okay, so at Independence Place, do you actually find housing for the residents or?
So that would be more like we have housing navigators at Norma Her. At Independence Place, we do have a similar model to Cogswell Hall. It just serves a younger demographic. Our target there is between 18 and 24 years, with obviously leeway in there, and we wouldn't tell anyone no, but that's our target demographic there. So we do house folks for as long as they need us. We do link them to services and work self-sufficiency plans with them. And then as they choose to, we do assist as they want us to move out into community. And then we have other programming that can wrap around and pick up from there.
Okay, so when these individuals do find a place to stay, is there any type of, do you handle anything like the supportive services for them when they are housed in their apartment or home or whatever?
That's a little outside of what I do. Margaret might be able to answer that a little bit better. So the life coaches that we have, they do stay with them and support them, but there is an additional support model for folks that they kind of move in. There's a shift in programming there for them.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheri. I saw a couple of questions in the chat. Oh, okay. So supportive services at Cogswell Hall during this COVID time, are staff able to be there personally to work with residents, or is it provided virtually? I will tell you that it is a little bit of everything all the time. So there is a strong virtual component, as needed, on demand, as requested. And that is with supportive services staff, but it's also peer-to-peer. And there are a number of services in the community that they are linked to, that residents are linked to as well. Their staff are essential workers, and they are on site at Cogswell Hall, at our preschool, at our emergency shelter, at Independence Place. We are in the building and on site. And so supportive services are managed, socially distanced, but people are highly encouraged to wear masks, incredible compliance. We have had a few COVID cases. We've not had a rampant outbreak at any of our facilities, but we certainly have had cases. And I hope that answered your question. Amy, you had a question about direct service. Thank you, Hans. That we've learned from or gained from the merger related to Norma Her. And the direct service really has been linked to the meal service. Being able to have the kitchen at Cogswell Hall provide meals at the shelter has probably been the biggest, most obvious gain that has resulted, from the merger. The criteria, there's a question about, gaining criteria or obtaining criteria for Cogswell Hall. And it is, it really is the same. That criteria is not set by, the YWCA. Paul, I don't know if you have other.
Yeah, so the criteria will always kind of stay the same, because when we became, so in 2009, when we renovated and we got our tax credits, we made an agreement with the Ohio Housing Finance Agency that this was how we were going to do that process of selecting residents and things of that nature. So even if, and this is a huge if and would never have, Margaret said, I just want to do whatever I want, she couldn't. She can't. She has a lot of things she can do, but she couldn't do that. So we made promises to state and federal agencies that we have to keep things the same. And unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate. Folks like staying at Cogswell, so the wait list has stayed about 2 to 3 years. We don't get much turnover there, just as pre-COVID and pre-merger. Yeah.
COVID has, it's just been an unprecedented time. I am in awe of how the staff have responded and how the residents have responded, and everybody has worked together. There are, the mental health of ourselves, our staff, and the residents is always primary. And we do a lot of work around self-care and resiliency work to really, combat that. But I just really am excited about and remain excited about Cogswell. And thank you, Bill, and thank you all the board members for entrusting YWCA Greater Cleveland with Cogswell Hall. We certainly thought we would be together at some point during the year, it just hasn't worked out. So we wanted to come together and provide this forum and just really express how important all of this is. Normally during the year, you all would have an opportunity to support and to give to Cogswell. And we certainly hope that you will continue to identify and find Cogswell as an important part of your giving each year. So thank you so much. I'm always available. Please always don't ever hesitate to call me. Of course, Paula and Nicole are the directors on the team. And so don't hesitate, to reach out to them as well. And it's just been an exciting time. Thank you all for joining us.